everyone, and welcome to the Backline with Rob and Adam. My name is Rob Norman, author of the cool improv book, Improvising Now, a practical guide to modern improv.
And my name is Adam Cawley, reader of Improvising Now, a practical guide to modern improv.
So that book came out in 2014. It's not great that you're still reading it. It's only like 100 pages.
It's just so tough to get through. So I pick it up every night before bed, and then I'm out like a light. As soon as I start to read whatever you've written, I am out. So I'll get through it. I'm very excited about it. I've autographed my copy, and it's going to be a good time once I get through it.
I like that my book is so relaxing that it's so easy to read that it puts you right to sleep. Because some people find improv very stressful and they're like really afraid. But it sounds like from one read, you're completely in the zone.
Yeah, in the zone of boredom.
Wow. That took a turn from subtle to just direct and offensive. I'm shattered, but how are you, Adam?
I'm really good. Hanging out in Toronto right now. I'm just like a world traveler. You know what I mean? Because I'm in Toronto, but like soon I'm going to Los Angeles. But then soon after that, you and I are going to Texas, the Sunshine State. You and I are, no, I'm making that. I don't know what it's called. What kind of state is it?
It's Florida. Isn't it Florida?
Yeah.
The Sunshine State?
Florida's the Sunshine State. Texas is the state where everything's bigger. But we are going to the Dallas Comedy Club. We're going to do shows. We're doing workshops. Rob and I are going to hang out in Dallas doing all the Dallas things. May 26, 27, 28, 29. We'll be there. So you can check out all of those things. And that's what I'm really excited about. Because I've never been, I like going to places I've never been and exploring, creating new memories. I'll take all the pictures. Rob, you'll get to live the memories through the pictures that I take. And we're going to have a good time. So if you're in the Dallas area or have access to Dallas, come hang out. We're going to have a good time.
I'm also very excited, AC. You know, when you live in Ontario, surprisingly, it's pretty fast to get to Florida. It's like 24 hours to drive to Florida. And we do improv festivals. Basically, anything along Florida is doable. Like New York, we've been to North Carolina. We've been to all like kind of along
East
the
Coast.
Eastern coast. But when it comes to like the Southwest, uncharted territory for me. I could get there, and I have no idea what I'm about to experience. So I'm very, very excited to go to Dallas.
And
I'm also, go ahead.
I was going to say, not only, if you're there, great, come hang out. If you've been there and you have recommendations of things that we should do on our off time, things like cool bars, cool architecture, cool cobblestone, things like alleyways, like things that I'm really into, send them my way because I love that. I love recommendations and then experiencing them.
What if the recommendations are use Google yourself?
Then I'd say you're not a true improviser. You're definitely a stand-up. Stand-ups love Google. Improvisers are much more of a Bing community.
Interesting. Well, this has been a great repartee. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. But, I think one of the things that I am a little bit anxious about is the mindset coming to this particular episode, trying to get it right. I want to impress you. I want to impress the audience. I want to impress the hundreds of subscribers at Bingo Bongo Improv Time. I want to make sure everyone's happy. And this is also a kind of pressure we put upon ourselves while we are improvising. Our mindset. I have a friend who is not an improviser. Surprising, that's weird. I'm still culling to get rid of the non-improvisers, but I have a friend who's a non-improviser, and she used to give a very, very big speech to a bunch of people, like 1,000 people. And so we were chatting, and she goes, "Hey, I'm not good at this. Would you do me a favor? Could you just read it one time?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'll read it." And so I read it for her, and she goes, "Cool, let me try it." And so she performs it, and it's way worse because she was like doing an impression of me reading the speech she had to give. I was like, "You don't sound like me. You don't have the same way of speaking. Trying to do an impression of me is weird. It's just super weird." And what I was trying to explain to her is she should be trying to reproduce the product, the sound, the performance. What she should be trying to reproduce is the mindset. And so when an improviser is reading a speech or doing a speech, we don't care what the outcome is. We aren't nervous, or if we're nervous, maybe we're afraid, but that fear is good. It powers us. It's not debilitating. You should be trying to reproduce the process, not the end product. And I thought maybe we could apply that lesson to improv today. Instead of talking about what's the right move, I'm really interested this week to figure out, Adam, what's happening in your head, and how can improvisers around the world reproduce what's happening in Adam's head as opposed to the move that he's making. So
yeah, it's so funny because like it's such a even when you're like you're in the proper mindset, whatever that is, or you're just feeling like I'm not feeling it. I can tell something's wrong. There is this like, because we don't put on any costume, because we don't like put on necessarily like makeup for improv. There's something very odd about I can't prepare outwardly. It all has to go on internally, right? You can warm up, but like there's nothing where you're putting on your uniform. You're putting on your costume. You're putting on your mask. You're just like, I'm going out as me, and I can tell before I get on stage, like I need to do something to prepare. And I don't know if we talk about what that is other than zip zap zopping your way to the stage.
yeah, it's interesting. Like when I was in theater school, you had to go see a series of plays, and some of them had talkbacks. And I forget which actor it was. It was someone notable who was in this play. And afterwards, people were asking her questions. And there was a scene where she had to cry in the play. And someone asked, very valid question, were those real tears on stage? Do you cry every night? Do you cry during the matinees? And she goes, I'm doing this show every day except for Mondays. 2 times on Saturdays, 2 times on Sundays. Sometimes you got it and sometimes you don't. I aim for real tears, but sometimes I'm just rubbing under my eyes. And that's okay because there's lights, there's sound, the play is lived in. If this actor is off one night, the rehearsal will protect her. But if you're improvising, every night is opening night. Every night that you play, you're creating something for the first time and people are judging you on just that. You ever do a improv show and a reviewer comes and you've had an off night?
Oh,
there's
yeah.
There's no way to write them and be like, hey, can you come again?
This time
It's better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so tough because, you know, when you're doing something like Second City and you're doing the same show, 7 times a week, there are moments that you're like, oh, I know that I didn't hit it, or I can analyze why I didn't hit my mark. Why didn't I get that laugh? Oh, I was lazy. I wasn't in the right spot physically. I wasn't loud enough. Anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you often all of that creates work for you. That's your job, is to make sure that you do hit all of those things. And when you do the same show again and again and again, you often feel like, who's in the audience tonight? Oh, it's a Sunday. I'm gonna do the show, but I'm not. I can tell I'm not in it. And you kind of have to play these little tricks with yourself of like, yes, I've done this show 100 times already. But what if someone in the audience, or most people in the audience, hopefully, it's their first time? You're like, right. I've got to remember that just because it's my 100th doesn't mean it's their 100th. They're going to be surprised by everything I do, so let's fucking surprise the shit out of them. But it's very easy to become lazy. It's very easy to, walk through these performances when you feel like there's nothing at stake, whether those stakes be money or your own reputation or your stance in the cast. It's a very delicate thing, and I don't know if it's something that you can just say, well, warm up. I think everybody's mindset is probably a little different, and I think it's a cool thing to be talking about, because I don't think anyone's really talked to me about it before. So yeah, I'm excited to chat.
So we're talking about mindset. I'm sure you have a kind of mindset when you're about to throw the frisbee disc to its chained hole. But the mindset for improv might be a little bit different than even something like sketch. You're about to do a Second City main stage show. It's probably a different headspace than that as well too. What is your headspace? What's the headspace that you're aiming for before an improv show?
So for me, I try and strike some sort of balance. And the balance is between being confident in my abilities to perform. Like, I know I'm an improviser with experience. No matter what you throw at me, I should be able to handle it. Cool. That's one. The other side is the silliness, the playfulness of this. I need to feel that giddy feeling, that sleepover energy where mom has said go to bed, but all you can do is giggle, right? I remember, like, I went to a Catholic school and you had to go to masses in school, like in the gym, like full on masses. It's insane. But because they took themselves so seriously, and we're all like seventh graders, we're just giggle. We're like, we know we're supposed to be so serious, but we're like, oh my God, they're treating this so seriously. And you get so hyper about, are we going to make it through? This is so boring. And you start to like, can I crack that person up? So that playfulness. So the confidence in I can handle this, the playfulness and I'm excited to go out there and literally play. And then the final thing is that just in the back of your mind is, what's the worst that can happen? This doesn't necessarily matter. And when I say that, I don't mean like, fuck the show. I mean, this is an improv show. Chill. You can see some people before a show getting so tense and so upset of like, this has to go well, this has to go well. And I think there's a very fine line, or I guess not a fine line at all, a very big difference, in my head at least, of wanting to do well, aiming to do well, and needing to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those three things help me want to do well without needing to do well.
It's interesting because the mindset that you need to achieve is different for each and every person. So like right now, before a show when I play with you, there are certain things that I know that you need. Like
what do I
like
need? I want to hear like what I want to hear my preparation from your vantage point.
So your preparation, I think we've kind of synchronized, which is nice. But like there often is a lot of like, ooh, I want to mess with you. I want to do something. I want to, oh, come on, get into it. Get into it. It's a lot. It's the same kind of energy sometimes when you're playing me a song on YouTube for the first time that you know I probably won't like, but you want to listen to it, so you want me to like it too. It's that kind of like party bully energy sometimes. But for the most part, you and I align very much in kind of what we want to do, which is like I want to have the right mix of comfort and I want to have the right mix of fear. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to be completely comfortable because that will make me sleepy. It means I don't give a shit. I also don't want to be afraid because that will make me nervous. It'll make me panic. It'll put me in a place of weakness, I might say. Like I'm trying to please the audience or please the people I'm with. And that can be really hard to control, especially if you are playing with new people for the first time, if you're by yourself. I remember one time I was doing a storytelling show in Richmond, Virginia. People would like fly me out to tell the story of when I got robbed in 2008. And so I was telling the story, and because of the way the contract worked, I had to have a travel day. or like a travel day before the story and a travel day after the story. So I'd have these times where like I have nothing to do. So the thing I got really into doing was I would go to improv theaters and I would just join the jam, but I wouldn't tell anyone who I was. And so I remember going to like some improv jam. And I've done all these things. I work for Second City. I've toured. And I don't say anything. I just show up. There's like a bunch of 20-year-olds there. And I'm going to do my first scene. And I feel like a little bit nervous. I'm not sure if I'm good at improv in that moment. So different places where you play, you're going to have different feelings. And it's so important that we chart that. And I think it might be different for each and every person because you have a different brain. You have a different brain chemistry. There might be different things that you might do. Are there other things, Adam, that you've seen people do or you used to do when you were in the beginning part of your career?
I think the classic like I got your back. Like I think that was like a thing that people were like, I actually need to do this. It connects me with these people and it feels like if I do this, you are now on my team. Like you've touched me, you've said I got your back, you looked me in the eye, and now I feel like we can go to war together. We've signed this verbal contract that you are going to support me, right? And I'm going to support you, right? Okay. Now I'm ready to go. We can go all into like superstitions, but I don't think that is that's going to be probably very unique to the individual. But at Second City, I would have to do a physical and verbal or vocal warm up every day. I needed to get my body to a place where it was feeling the kinetic energy that was going on in my brain. And when you feel like it's all going on in your head, you're like, my body will get there. But I couldn't do that. I needed to be physically warmed up. I was always the one backstage blaring music because it just felt like we all need to be in the zone that this is a party and we are the hosts. The audience is there. They're excited to show up to our place. Let's not disappoint them. Let's not make them feel like we're regretting hosting this party. We are so pumped. And so if there's a way to manufacture that, I say go for it. And for me, a lot of this outside stimuli, a lot of this kind of like party bully, I think really gets me into a place of like, can you believe what we're about to do? Like, let's remember what we're about to do here. This is an insane idea. And everybody, unless you're in an improv audience, because improv audiences are like 90% students, but like, you think about a general audience, they would all look at us and say, there's no way I could do what you're doing. So we've got 300 people looking at us saying, you guys are nuts for doing this. I can't believe it. I gotta see it. And I think the more success you get as a performer, as an improviser, it's harder and harder to remember what the people watching you are thinking about you. And so to kind of live up to it and say, yeah, what we're doing is nuts. Let's go out there and do it.
It's also interesting because I was understudying a couple of shows that you were on in main stage, and I would enter into those spaces, and it was really interesting. Like obviously, there's a bunch of people that we performed with a lot, so I kind of knew a bunch of people's habits. But seeing you kind of go through this, like, oh, we got to get pumped up. There was like one or two people who did not need that for their warm up. And it was so interesting watching them kind of like sneak off to another room to like go do what they needed to do to get ready. And so this definitely isn't a one size fits all thing. I don't find saying got your back helps me on stage. I actually don't like it. It's not my favorite pre-show ritual.
What does it make you feel?
But, it makes me feel polite. Like I feel like everyone's being polite to each other, and that's the opposite of what I'm about to go do on stage, which is have this like very direct, intimate relationship with you that is not polite. So us doing the thing that we're supposed to do before a show, actually for me, like, is not the zone I want to be in. I would rather be like making up a joke or having an experience with you, or I would rather you tell me a story about something that's going on in your life so that I feel connected to you before we go on stage. And I want to hold on to that connection. I don't want to broken up by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I got your back. It, like, again, like, the sentiment is beautiful, like, it's all lovely, but it does feel like it puts people in a bit of a mindset of, look, this is going to be very hard. What we're going to do right now is very difficult. So can we all agree ahead of time that, like, we're all inevitably going to fail, so we're not going to fail alone, right? Right? And it's like, all right, like, yes, I have your back, of course. Like, I would much rather, as you said, like, we're all in that zone of, you know, that feeling when there's like a joke and the joke is just in the room and everybody's contributing, everybody's heightening or everybody's adding on. And then, like, there's those moments where everyone goes silent because they're all thinking of what's the next one. Like, I gotta heighten this even harder. Like, that zone feels like, well, that playfulness is what we're gonna do on stage. On stage, we're not looking at each other like, help. We hopefully are being like, come play. Let's get into trouble together. Knock over my sandcastle. Let's see what happens. And so, yeah, again, it's not right or wrong. It is just personal taste. And if you're like, hey, I actually like to journal and be alone, cool. I think it's less about how or what mindset you should be in and more about, hey, everyone, let's be attuned to what mindset we think prepares us best and how can we achieve that.
Can you imagine, though? You have a coach and they're like, oh, it's Herald night. Everybody warm up. Okay, I'm going to give the speech. All right, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you go, okay, I'm going to step out. I'm going to go journal for a while. Everyone would be like, Rob, you can't go journal. You got to count with your hands. Like, we all have to do this together. Yeah, I think that's very, very funny. Very good. How have you been in the wrong headspace before a show? Have you ever done it wrong? And then what happened when you were in the wrong headspace?
Yeah, I think, like, I've definitely been lazy. And I've definitely been, like, thinking, I think the laziness comes from cockiness. When you're just in a mood of, like, what's the show? Oh, it's this kind of thing? Okay, yeah, I've done it. Yeah, I know what to do. It's fine. And I think sometimes that's from doing maybe too many shows or just being like, I do this so often that I've become numb to the excitement. And I think that's a bad place to be. And whenever I'm on stage and I'm like, what's wrong here? It's usually I can check back in and be like, oh, I didn't really approach this in the right way. I did get a little lazy. I think I got a little cocky. Or the other side is when you're really intimidated. If I'm ever in a position of, like, you know, especially going on tour, you're like, God, I don't know this audience. I don't know this culture even. You know, we've talked about our experience in Norway when we came out like guns blazing, and the audience just had a very different reaction than what we expected before we'd even started the set. And there it's like, uh-oh, should I change the way I perform? Or should I hold on and trust that what I'm doing is good? So those kinds of things. I think when a performer is lazy, when a performer is cocky, or when a performer is intimidated, that can lead to some very negative headspaces, I think.
Yeah, and just to clarify that story in Norway, we walked out and we were performing with Improv Noof and we were having a great time, but we were doing our two-hander. And we were just doing what we normally do when we take a suggestion, which is you go to the front of the stage, you put your arms out like this, and then you yell very loudly like, how's everyone doing tonight? Kind of like you're a gladiator being like, are you not entertained? And that volume, that intensity was just different. People in that community didn't take suggestions that way. But the rest of the show was fine. The improv worked the same. Just
yeah, but it's
yelling,
just, again,
worked the same. It's
not like one of these things is right or wrong, but like there are these moments that can like throw you completely. If you haven't done your preparation, if you or you just, something happens, someone heckles you, someone yells out, and your mindset can completely shift in that moment. It can be a terrifying and completely dismantling feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it'll get you. I remember the first time I got put into Turco. We're trying a new running order, and there's this scene called Gump, which is a very long political satire scene. And I was going in to do a part. I looked really young. I was supposed to be playing a CEO, and I went to go do it, and it wasn't doing well, and I got heckled. And I remember going backstage and being like, I'm fired. Oh my God, I'm fired. Oh no, this is the worst. I'm not funny. I'm horrible. Which would be very different now if you were I to be heckled, because you'd be like, okay, cool. I know what I can do. And actually, I've dealt with hecklers before, so I know how to shut this down. But if you don't have that experience, it's going to be really hard to manifest that kind of mind frame.
There was one night I remember, it wasn't even a scene I was in.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 performers on stage at Second City, and they had to sing a song, and it was kind of like a Motown song with like lots of lots of dancing physicality. They all had like microphones and mic stands, and it's all synchronized. So if one person is out of step, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
And the lights come up, the music starts, the guys are about to sing, and someone very clearly yells out, "Your fly's down!" Not that that's a brutal heckle or anything, but it was just a moment of, if any one of them checks, that audience member wins, and these performers have lost all credibility. None of them did. All of them knew. I'm sure mine is up and it's fine, but even if it's down and I have to like step out of this choreography to change it, it's going to fuck everything up. But to being mentally prepared enough to handle that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, also when we talk about kind of your mindset, it could also be a kind of heuristic too, right? So I know for me, one of the things that I struggled with when I first started to improvise was getting ahead of myself. So I would find myself on the sidelines and I'd start to write scenes in my head. Like, here's the character I want to play. That would be funny. Here's my opening line. That would be funny. Then they say this. And obviously playing that way results in a very bad scene. So what I would do, because I was so anxious, I was feeling so much panic, is I would allow myself to think of that whole scene. I would write the whole thing in my head. And then I would walk on stage to do that scene. And as I was walking on stage to do that scene, I would shake my head as hard as I could in the black and be like, you can do anything other than that scene. And that worked for a little bit. That was a helpful reminder to me to be like, you don't get that. You don't get to write the scene ahead of time. Probably not the best look to be head banging in the black, but it was a trick that I needed for me to get over this part about writing ahead. Very cool. Okay. How do you prepare your mind for a big audition? Or do you remember what we used to do when we were auditioning for generals at Second City? Because I do.
Oh my God. I was so dumb. Like, I remember my first audition. Like, I auditioned for Second City. I don't know what age I was, maybe 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the lobby and I'm reading McNapier's book, like trying to just absorb everything I could before this audition. And part of the audition is they ask, or they used to at least, like one at a time, there's a group of 6 of you about to audition for Second City. Auditions are probably like 20, 25 minutes, usually a little montage, and then 1 2-person scene. That's your audition. But they also kind of want to get to know you a little, so they'll be like, oh, tell us a little bit about yourself. So you do, and like they used to ask, so what are you reading right now? And I was a 19-year-old student of comedy at Humber College, comedy writing and performance program, and I'm in the Second City Conservatory. What the fuck do you think I'm up to? I was reading improv books. And so I'm like, well, actually, right now I'm reading McNapier's book, and I could feel the groans. that's how I used to prepare, is just be like, how can I do as much improv related things, read as much as possible. Um, but
Can I take a
for
pause there?
Yeah,
I just want to say that is the worst mindset to be in. Like it's like cramming for an exam. At a certain point, you have to go, I know everything I'm going to know. If you're
yeah,
auditioning or you have a big show, you have to be like, I worked to this point. This is the cutoff point. Now it's over. I don't want to be reading another chapter about the laws of thermodynamics while I'm walking on stage. Do not recommend. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
yeah. No, I think I agree. I think that's where I go to that first part when you ask the first question, which is confidence, right? And confidence, obviously, there's lots of levels of it, but just that mindset that you just brought up of like, look, I'm an improviser. I've done this much improv. That's all I got. So I'm going to take everything I got and do the best I can. You're never going to beat improv. And what I mean by that is improv requires a sense of play, a sense of wonder, a sense of risk. And so if you're preparing for an audition and you think I'm gonna play this character and then I'm gonna do this thing, and it's like you're anti-improvising.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, as kind of a type A kind of person, I would very much think, how can I beat the audition? And it took me a while. It took me 3 times auditioning for Second City, 3 years in a row. But just being like, I know what improv is. I have to follow that risk of not getting this role, not getting this, because there's no way around supporting your partner, taking a risk, playing a character you've never played before, snapping into some kind of physicality that you're like, I don't know where this is going to lead me. That's improv. So to be confident enough to say, I know what to do, just do it. Because you're never going to beat it. And you never know who you're partnered with. You never know anything. And there's nothing more you can do other than say, I prepared as best as I can. These are my experiences. And I'm just going to do what they've asked me to do, which is improvise.
So yeah, I remember also doing other stuff. Like I lived at Bloor, and Second City was like all the way downtown. And I remember I would leave myself an hour and walk to the audition. Mm-hmm. That was kind of a meditative state. Mm-hmm. Along the way, I would play pattern games, word association. I would improvise monologues. I would do practice characters, spontaneous character creation. And all that stuff was fine. It helped me a little bit, but I didn't think I had the right mindset. And I think the right mindset is a mixture of this. It's a mixture of trying very hard, trying your best, but then also not caring at all. And that's very confusing because it could seem like those are opposites. But if you can get that in the right zone, then that for me is the perfect mixture. Speaking of Second City auditions, you and I and the star of the podcast, Jason DeRoss, we all auditioned in Second City Detroit, in Novi, when there was a Second City there. And one year you and Jay went, and then one year Jay and I went. And the year that I went to Novi, this is like, I don't remember what year, but like Tim Robinson was like on main stage at the time. I saw his main stage show. And I crushed it. I killed it. I slaughtered it. I felt like I was like, you know, a character who grew up on a planet with very strong gravity and coming to Earth and being like, oh, I can jump way farther. What's wrong with me? Like, this is incredible. And I remember getting a call from the producer there being like, yo, you're awesome. What's your deal? You live in Canada? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'll come to Detroit. No problem. It's like, but there's a Second City there. Why don't you just stay in the city with a Second City and we'll see you at the next Generals? And I went, okay, I'll do that. So when the Second City Toronto Generals came, I ate so much shit. I looked like I had never improvised before in my life. It must have been so confusing to everyone because someone told me it was like in Detroit, I'm in a foreign country. There's no way I'm going to book this. I don't have a green card. I can't work there. You know, the Novi Theater was a little bit smaller, a little bit of a smaller community. I'm like, oh, I'm never going to see these people again. Have a blast. I didn't care, but also I loved improv and I just wanted to do it. So I was trying my best. So I didn't care. And then I was trying very hard. And then the next year, I was trying very hard. And also, I cared more than I've ever cared in my life. And there was a lesson to that. There was a lesson about overshooting. So that's another kind of mind game where it's like, how do you detach yourself from this very surreal experience? How can you be in the scene but not be in the audition? And that's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, the like, look, if you are a newer improviser and you are auditioning for something, recognize, hey, I'm a newer improviser. If I book this, bonus. Otherwise, it's a free show. This is great. People can see me, and then when they see me next year, I'll be way better. Like, this is awesome. If you are seasoned, then you know, look, auditions are, sorry, we've got a guy who looks like Rob. You're great, Rob. We just can't have two guys who look like Rob. See ya. Rob's got facial hair. I don't like facial hair. See ya. Like, all of that stuff is out of your control. So it's the preparedness meets opportunity. If you're a seasoned improviser, you're prepared. The rest is out of your control. When I did the Who's Line audition, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was randomly in Los Angeles at that time. The call went out to a select group of people. I wasn't involved. So just emailed. I was like, hey, can I come? They're like, oh, okay. And I was like, great. This is fun. What a cool experience. And because I had that attitude of like, well, of course I'm not going to get this. They didn't even ask me the first place. And then going through like a 9-hour audition, I just kept laughing of like, I made it again. I made it through the next round. This is so fucking dumb. Like, what is this even going towards? Anyway, the next months later, on like the 7th callback, I wanted it so bad. And I was like, okay, I know the games. I wonder if I can I shouldn't think of anything. And like, you see the props, you know, the prop game where they give you a prop and it's like, make this anything other than what it is. And like, I could see the pile of props over in the corner. And I was like, no, don't look at those. Like, be surprised. But maybe if I just have a peek, didn't improvise very well at all. And it's like, I'm the same guy. I have the same experiences, the same training, the same drive. But one, I was happy to be there. I was excited. I thought this was fun. And one, I was like, this actually has to happen for me. That mindset changed everything about my performance.
You let the fear in.
What if this doesn't happen?
Fear in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think when I'm thinking about stuff like that too, I'm looking to minimize my like sly manipulator. So the thing
Go on.
But
Go
like the
on.
stuff about like looking at the props before the audition starts, like that's like you trying to get ahead. That's you trying to game the system, and I think we do that a lot in improv because the risk is so high. It's so easy to be hurt in the process of improvising. Naturally, our psyche is looking for ways to make it a little bit easier on us, but it doesn't make it easier on us. And so the thing I always think about when I'm really stressed out, if I'm in a foreign city, I find it, and I'm doing a montage with a bunch of people I don't know. Maybe we all speak the same language, maybe we don't. I find the first scene out to be the hardest scene in the show. Because that's when everyone decides.
For you or for the group?
For
you,
me.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's also probably for the group too. But that first scene, the audience is going to decide if they like you or not. They're also going to decide if they like the show or not. And so I remember being at Second City and joining those sets after the show and being very intimidated. All my heroes were there. And my solution was, when the lights go down, after they take the suggestion, be in the first scene. And you have permission, Rob, to bomb it. Go bomb the first scene. Because that will give you a chance. You'll get 2 more scenes and you can redeem yourself by the end of the set. But if you wait around and you get to that 4th scene, it's either gangbusters or it's not. And if it's not gangbusters, oof, that's rough. So get out early and play right away. That's a kind of heuristic that I needed to give myself the confidence to do that first scene. It's going to be a bad one. Give yourself permission for it to be bad. I didn't want that first scene to be bad. I wanted it to be great. And by trying to make a bad scene, I usually ended up with a much better scene than I would have if I tried. What a mindfuck, a literal definition of a mindfuck. You are telling yourself you're going to go do a bad scene so you can do a good scene. Weird.
Well, I'm very much a first in player. I like, I don't know if I like it so much as I just become accustomed to it, but it feels like in a group setting, we've talked about the kind of improv Avengers and like what kind of player are you? And for me, I think for better or for worse, I will be a first
Hawkeye.
person. What's that? Hawkeye? I wish.
Hawkeye.
No, I can't be a Hawkeye. I'm like a Thor and a Captain America, but everybody's like chill. I will jump in. Like I remember when we first went to Copenhagen, we were doing an Armando, our first show, with a group of people we've never met in our lives. And the lights came up and no one stepped forward. And so I was like, I guess I'll do it. And I did the first monologue of like with a group of people I didn't know. And I was like, you know what? For me, it's like diving into a cold ocean, right? I don't want to be one of those people that dips their toe in and slowly gets acclimatized to this temperature. For me, I just want to dive right in and say, now I can't think about it. I've removed the ability to judge myself. I've removed the ability to be nervous. I'm just here now. And once I'm here and I'm in it, there's nothing I can do but improvise. And if it goes badly, cool. I've told the audience I'm not very good. So if I have a good scene next time, they're like, whoa, that guy's actually not that bad. If the scene goes great, awesome. I've helped the show start off on a very positive note. But if you're like, I'm going to wait for my turn or I'm going to wait for my time, you can either make that active choice because you think, oh, I see a bunch of atoms here. I'm going to let them start. I'm not going to compete with them. That's fine. You know yourself. But if you're not making that choice from a powerful place and you're saying, I'm not ready yet, that's going to snowball. Or at least for me, it does. And it's like, oh, I missed my opportunity. Oh, now I haven't gone into 3 scenes in a row. This show's really good. I don't want to stink it up. And you're just judging yourself more and more and more. So whatever the choice you make is, I think, again, switching the mindset from a passive, I'm out of control kind of choice to I'm going to make this choice and mentally prepare for it. Of, you know what, tonight I'm going to give myself a cool challenge. I'm not going in the first 3 scenes. I'm going to see how that does. And now I'm excited for it. And now I've made that choice from a powerful position. And I'm saying, this is on me. And man, let's see if it works. Rather than, I don't know what to do, you know?
Yeah, it's renegotiating your relationship with the audience. Like the idea that you're not there to entertain them. In fact, you have a secret. You're working on something else, and they don't have access to it. And you don't care if they know the secret. This isn't for them. It's for you. I mean, this is another piece that I think is really interesting. I think for people who have anxiety, I remember being on stage on tour, and you would go to different cities across Canada. And I was on tour with this woman, Carly Heffernan, who now I guess is like in charge of everything at Second City.
Like Second City's artistic director, I think.
Yeah, she's just the boss. She decides everything. And I remember doing the kind of like mic check. And I remember seeing her step out on stage and imagine all of the people and see her face, like thinking about all of the people who are there to see her perform. And just that idea energized her so much. She was so into that. She was like right at home. And for me, I thought about my own relationship with those 300 people or the 600-eyed monster. It was this creature that was there to judge me and decide if I was worthy or not. And so that took a lot of work to be like, no. I want that mindset. I need to, people love me. Just don't give them a reason not to love you, as opposed to, oh, you have to prove yourself. Everyone hates you to begin with as a preset. Very different. Very, very different. And I think I'd actually like to talk to more improvisers about this, because I feel like everyone probably has their own weird secret tricks that nobody talks about. We're probably all doing these kinds of weird mind games, and they're very personal. They're very private to you. But I bet if you took 6 improvisers, they would tell you 6 different stories of the weird, fucked up things they're doing to their own brain to be able to perform every night. For sure.
Yeah, I don't think... I was just trying to go... I was trying to picture backstage, and I was trying to go through, like, what are things that I absolutely do? I don't even think about them. And this is just one dumb one, but, like, a roll down, like a physical roll down from head to toe. I probably do that 3 or 4 times before I step on stage. Always. Like, I don't think I've ever stepped on stage without doing one.
Can I tell you one thing that I do? And I'm going to tell you, and you're going to be like, oh, of course, yeah. I stretch my inner groin back and forth, rock back and forth, and then I stretch my wrists.
Whoa.
I have never used my wrists ever. I don't think I ever bend my legs. I have no idea why I'm doing it, but I've been doing that for 20 years. The last show we did, I was in the corner, bouncing back and forth, stretching my legs for some reason. That.
Yeah, this image of using your hand to bend your fingers on your opposite hand, that's such a familiar image of you in my brain that I've never thought about it all. But now that you mention it, I'm like, oh my God, I see that all the time. That's
why
so
am I
funny.
doing that? Am I going to lift heavy things? I'm literally lifting imaginary boxes. Why am I stretching this part of my wrist? It makes no sense. I don't know. Anyways, so Adam, anything else that you're thinking about mindset, things that you are considering?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a lot about preparation. And I think there's also something about, well, I did the preparation and now I'm in the show and something's gone wrong. And for me, I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, and then someone wrote in and was like, Adam, you're talking about adrenaline. Because I was like, I get very hot and I start to get like I need to be outdoors. And they're like, yeah, Adam, you're having like a mini panic attack. That's adrenaline. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, oh, I get warm. No big deal. But thinking about, oh, shit, something's gone wrong. Or like the audience hates us. Like, what do I do? You'll see improvisers do this all the time. They'll just start playing further and further away from the audience. Like, they'll hug the back wall, like, unconsciously or subconsciously. They're just like, how do I get as far away from the audience as possible? How can I feel as safe as possible? And you'll see them, and they'll start touching the wall often of just like, I'm now in a safe zone. So that's not going to work. You get more and more passive. For me, I think about these big, dumb switches, right? Big, dumb choice, all this kind of stuff of like, look, all I'm doing right now is overanalyzing and trying to, again, beat the system. How can I think of a way to get into the other improviser's head and my head, make some quick adjustments, and fix this thing? That is never going to happen. And so thinking, how can I get I know this is like a classic get out of your head, but literally like, yeah, stop thinking about how bad this is going, and can you throw yourself into a choice that puts you into, oh, right, I'm back improvising because I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know what to do now. That fun of like, this is already sinking. Let's smash some shit on the way down as this boat sinks, and let's see what kind of fun we can have, because there's no avoiding the sinking ship. It's happening. So trying to correct it, I don't know. That seems like a frustrating place to play from, rather than, oh my God, then we brought in this dinosaur and we really had a lot of fun with that dinosaur.
Yeah, I feel like if something goes wrong, a lot of people try and rewrite the scene from the ground up, and I think that's a mistake. I think it's about finding what are the small pieces within this nightmare that you can enjoy. So like you and I are doing a show and it just goes wrong and we go, at this point, it's pretty clear that everyone hates us. We're never going to win them back. What do we do? Oh, well, can I make Adam laugh?
Yeah.
I want to have a story. When I tell this story at a dinner party later, at an improviser's dinner party, I want to make sure that it has a good ending. So what's the thing that I can do that can make this more enjoyable for me? And sometimes, strangely enough, once again, by trying to throw more gasoline on the fire, you end up saving the scene or redeeming it somehow. You get the audience back on your side because all of a sudden you've changed the contract between performer and audience. You stop caring what they think and you start playing for yourself. That is when you are in fact the most likable.
And I think a lot of this mindset is also dependent on your responsibility within the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are being paid to do, for example, a corporate improv show, that's a very different mindset you need to be in. The mindset is, I've got a job to do, and I need to deliver on this job. If this is a show where someone has brought you on in the cast and there's a director and they've asked, we've all agreed, we're all going to try to achieve this thing, and you betray that, that's just something to just put in the back of your mind of like, this all is dependent on what is this show? Because the idea of saying, fuck it, let's play for ourselves in the middle of a Ernst & Young corporate show, probably not going to win you a lot of favors.